Card number 64 from the Bowman color set. It was fate that it was a Philadelphia Philly, Kurt Simmons from the Whiz Kids. Great pitcher, great card, great set. And yeah, you better believe I'm pretty excited about where the Phillies are right now on the eve of going into the National League Championship Series. So, card 64 must be session 64 of Card Room Live. I got to say it every time. It's not a show. It's a hangout for fellow vintage collectors. Sometimes we have guests. We don't have any guests tonight. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to waste some time looking at and talking about cardboard, and who knows what else we'll talk about. Through it all, we try to make it time well wasted. So if you're here with us live, welcome. Introduce yourself. I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on the comments tonight because I don't have any guests, although I am planning to share the link, and I'm going to invite some of y'all to hop in and share cards, share thoughts, share opinions on collecting, on baseball, on the postseason, on YouTube, whatever you want. So if you're thinking about jumping in, you want to stop here for a second and collect some cards and get yourself ready. I'll share the link here in a few moments. If you happen to be listening to this later, whether you're going to or coming home from work or sorting cards or looking at eBay or walking the dog or, all those other things that I always list, I hope you get something out of it. I hope you have a good time listening. And as always, if you want to get in touch or have ideas for future sessions, you can email me at bowman53channel@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram at, what's my name? Bowman53_Alex. You can find me on X or Twitter at 1953 Bowman Color. And of course, all that information is right below my head in the description below this video. So for those of you that are here, if you have a question or an idea or a topic, I encourage you to drop it in the chat. Otherwise, as we like to say on this thing, get ready for silence. We're not afraid of silence on this stream because, as I said before, it's not a show. It's a hangout. And sometimes friends don't have anything to say to each other. Sometimes they just sit and drink in silence. So cheers to you guys. Let's see what's going on in the chat. I see a flurry of activity. It's true, I was in makeup. I ran to the bathroom real quick and made it back before Kurt Simmons was done. What's up, Ray? I know you're feeling good. And right here you go. Phillies winning 5. Yeah. I think I'm with you on that. I'm going to refrain from too much Phillies talk. It's hard for me to not talk about the Phillies, but I'm going to refrain from it really because Ed, my buddy Ed Wesker-Griff, and Ray and other Phillies folks are going to get together in about an hour. So keep your eye open for that. They're going to chat about where they see things going. I don't think I'm going to be able to join that one, but I'll say I agree with Ray. Phillies in 5. What's up, Rick? Good to see you. That's a good question, Mike. There are some YouTubers that refer to this as their watering hole, but I have yet to. Well, that's not true. I think I've had an adult beverage on this before, but I don't have one with me tonight. Thank you, Dan. I had nothing to do with it, but I'll take it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Jesse, what's up? Good to see you. I appreciate the support, Nina. It's going to be fun. It's been fun. Somebody putting the Phillies aside for a second, somebody mentioned this recently, and I think we all know it, but it's true. Whenever your team gets into the postseason, you should try to soak it in. Some of us it all depends on fandom, right? Like some of us might get to enjoy it fairly frequently, and some of us only get to enjoy it once in a while. And some of us have not enjoyed it for some time, So when you do get into the postseason, even if it doesn't last as long as you hoped it would, you have to try to soak it all in. And so even I know it sounds crazy, but like even when you've got drama and things may not be going well. I mean, I remember a few days ago when the Phillies lost in Atlanta, and they lost in like really tragic, painful fashion. At some point after I was like super depressed and bummed about it, I also kind of smiled because there's something really kind of fun about the ups and downs of baseball. And, as a vintage collector, I'm always looking back 30, 40, 50, 60 years and enjoying all those stories. And some of those stories are really painful. Like one of the stories that I'm really focused on a lot these days is Bobby Thompson's home run. And that's a painful story for a lot of people. Um, and you kind of forget about that when you're like living through it yourself. It's like, even when your team loses, it's like there's still something to be appreciated about just, enjoying the drama of baseball. Um, Go Phillies, Kelly teams suck. That might be the narrative of the year. um, we need to coordinate on the adult beverages. I keep saying that I can't wait for Cleveland because it's going to be a lot easier to take care of adult beverages in Cleveland. We'll do a card room live in Cleveland. It may not be on a Sunday night, but we'll have to do a card room live in Cleveland. That'll be a mess and fun, and there will actually be adult beverages involved. The Card Story. Good evening to you. We were totally wondering if Scott was here. Now we know. It's confirmed. Good evening, Hammer 44. Did you guys miss Card Room Live last week? Did you miss the scrolling mouse? Here it is. That's a lot of scrolling mouse in case you missed it. Zoe and Pops Hope Comics and Collectibles. New to your channel as well. Congratulations for finding this, I guess. I don't know if yours is a new channel or not. Let me look you up right now, but thanks for popping in. And welcome to you. I see you collect comics and collectibles. What kind of collectibles are you after? Just checking out your channel real quick. Looks like you're into cards too, just from briefly kind of looking around on your channel, which is cool. So welcome to you. Mookie, it's okay if you want to be silent. Hey, I wanted to mention, Mookie, I saw your video today. If anybody hasn't seen Mookie's video, really fun. He found a really awesome item. I'm not going to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but he found an awesome vintage item at, I don't know if it was like a card show or some kind of an antique flea market maybe, or something like that. But I think you did a really good job of telling the story and showing it. And I liked it because it required a little bit of research. You had to kind of figure out like the specific game that's connected to the item that you found. It was really entertaining. I really enjoyed it. So you should definitely check out Mookie's recent video. Let's see. Dan picked up a PSA 6 of the 53 Bowman Granny Hamner at a show yesterday. Awesome. All the Phillies Bowman color cards are beautiful. That red really pops. Thank you very much. Yeah, I missed you guys. But I had a great dinner at one of my favorite Indian restaurants. And yeah, I quickly forgot about Card Room Live, I have to say. once that meal started. But afterwards, I was missing the cardboard. So thank you. All right, Don. Hypothetical question. It's 1955, and the Dodgers are playing the Phillies. Who are you rooting for? I'm rooting for the Phillies. Definitely. Um, I'm rooting for the Phillies, but when the Phillies lose, um, I'm going to root for the Dodgers. Yeah, yeah, Phillies first, definitely. Um, but by 55, that team was um, not doing their greatest. I don't think. Let me check that out though. 1955 Phillies. Yeah, the Phillies were in fourth place, and they had a record of 77 and 77. How about that? So I would have followed the Phillies during the regular season, and then I definitely would have kept my eye on the Dodgers in the postseason. Mike O's in here. What's up, Mike O? Mike O will certainly be a part of that conversation later on tonight. Rocket Rick, what's up, man? Rocket Rick had a great video today. I think it was today. It's hard to remember. About that Sports Illustrated issue, which I think was the second issue they ever put out, which had that feature of 1954 Topps cards, some of which were black and white and not actually ever really made into real cards. I know many of you guys know about that issue. We've actually talked about it on this several times in the past, but it's still always really cool to see it, and it's really cool to sort of it was cool to listen to Rick go through that and kind of flip through it. So appreciated that, Rick. Boston Kid, good evening, fellow collectors, curators, custodians of the cards, and of course, historians. Good evening to you, sir. Still in denial, completely perplexed by all this Phillies talk. Yeah, I understand. I understand. Trying to think of something to say. Yeah, I don't have anything. I understand. Try to soak it in. Yeah, that's all good. There's always a 15-year drought around the corner. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think, I really appreciated that run from say 2007 to 2000, what is it, 11, 12ish. I was like, that was a dream that I didn't think was possible when I was a kid, because I grew up after the Phillies won in 1980. And I always heard about that stuff, but it seemed like a legend and it seemed almost like a fantasy. I could see the footage, but I didn't really have any association with it. And I grew up without much of anything. 1993 was kind of this weird anomaly, which I loved, and I soaked that in. And then they lost in painful fashion, and then the strike happened after that. And I was a teenager and kind of falling out of my childhood at the same time, and really kind of falling out of baseball. All that stuff kind of happened at the same time. And I didn't really get back into baseball until after college. And that's right around when the Phillies started getting better again. So yeah, it's been a weird time. But after that last run, when they kind of faded after 2011, I was like, oh, here we are again. We're back in that time period that I had experienced as a kid, where this team is not good, and they don't have a shot. And I kept telling myself, this time I'm going to pay attention, because it's going to be much more meaningful when they actually make it, because I will have, just like I did when I was a kid, I will have been through all those lean years, watched the good players come and go, the players that didn't quite make it, the players that were highly touted and then fell apart when they made it to the big leagues. And, the teams where you kind of hoped that something was going to come together and then it didn't, all of that paid off. I want to say last year, and the fact that they're in there again this year is, I'm soaking it all in as much as possible. What's up, Peter? Good to see you. Boston kid drinking Miller Lights in the backyard with a fire pit going. I'm jealous. We should have a card room live in the backyard with a fire pit going. White Sox fan collector. Good evening, Alex and others. I'm not familiar with the baseball in October thing. Aren't the players upset and their winter vacations are cut short? The Sox players are already at the beach. Yeah. I didn't really know what the World Series was until 1993. So I guess there's a different way to look at it. Or 20 or 40 years. Yeah. I was thinking of Don when I was thinking about fans that haven't gotten to enjoy the postseason in a while. Sorry, Alan. Sorry, not sorry. I enjoyed that Fox is really trying to make A-Rod and Jeter friends again. Yeah. I've only seen YouTube clips. I haven't actually watched any full segments from them, but what's up? Good to see you. Let's see. Oh, the Garfield, New Jersey baseball card show is my local show, and it's where dreams come true. Maybe that should be their local slogan. John's in here. What's up, John? Mike finally picked up a 1955 signed copy of Topps Johnny Padres. Awesome. Have you done a video of that, or are you planning to? Yeah, maybe I missed this earlier. Maybe you said this earlier, Rick, but they were what 70s? Did I say 77 and 77? They were not good and they were not bad. They were even. They were exactly even. What's up, Victor? I would agree with anybody but Houston. I definitely want Phillies first. And then anybody but Houston, I would say. Yeah. Yes, the Whiz Kids were coming the Whiz Kids. And of course they were called the Whiz Kids in 1983. Card Room Live must see TV for collectors like us. I appreciate it. I totally disagree. I don't think anything in here is must see most of the time, but I definitely appreciate the sentiment. Dan talked about it today in my video. I guess had the bear from the SI 1954 set. Oh, cool. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I saw that you posted. I haven't had a chance to watch it, but I see. So you haven't posted that one yet. I saw you posted a video recently though that I haven't checked out. Yeah, when I think of 1980, I think of Ray from Philly, no doubt. Let's see. Spick and span or lake to lake cards help solve this pain, Carlisle. Yeah. The Braves have lots of cool regional cards. 1960 lake to lake spawn. Is it time to go to eBay already? 1960s lake to lake. I wonder if it's even on eBay. There it is. I don't know that I've ever seen this before. What am I looking at, you're asking? Well, I'm looking at this. And it's signed. It's signed by Warren Spahn. It's a pretty unusual design. Pretty cool. I like the blue tint. Yeah, the Ty Wigginton and Tommy Joseph era. Yeah, every now and then my dad will throw in the name Ty Wigginton when we're talking about the Phillies as a joke. It's funny how certain names just stick with you. That's one of them for sure. Are we talking about the Mets? We can talk about the Mets, Doug. If you really want to, Doug, we can talk about the Mets. I don't have anything to say. Um, except that I am so glad the Mets exist because baseball would be less fun without that team. I mean, the would have Philly fans would have very little to be upset about besides our self-loathing if we didn't have the Mets. That's all I have to say about the Mets right now. Padres were 3 games away from getting a wild card spot, but had 3 months of terrible losing records. One more win for each of those 3 months, and they're in maybe next year. Yeah, the Padres. I don't know. I think the Padres. I mean, I'm no expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I was not that impressed with the Padres last year. I'm less impressed with the Padres this year, and I think they've got some work to do, especially considering how much money they spend. 1955 Dodger video is planned for January 1st on my 1 year anniversary. Awesome. Unless I go on someone else's channel first. Well, if that's an offer, dude, consider it accepted. I'd love to talk about the 55 Dodgers. But you should, regardless of that, you should definitely do a video on your own channel. Because that's a video that I think people will come back to and again and again and again. I mean, like 55 Dodgers, that's a topic that never gets old, so you want to make a video for that stuff for sure. That's what it was, Dan. I saw something was posted, and now that I think about it, yes, play ball. Honest question. Does anyone know a content creator that cheers for the Astros? Anybody know? I don't know of anybody that comes to mind. There may be Astros fans out there. But I'm not thinking of any. Nope, nothing to talk about. Just inserting my disappointment passive aggressively. Yeah, hey, just like a true Mets, just like a true Mets fan. Yeah, it's pretty monumental what's happened over the past couple of years with that team. Blue Jays, another team. What are some other teams? Okay, so we got the Astros, we got the Blue Jays. What are some other teams that you don't quite associate with a YouTuber? What's up, showing me? Good to see you. Don, I believe, is your name. We got another Don in here. Maiko would know, right? So maybe going back into the history of YouTube, there have been certain fans of certain teams. They're just not around anymore. What's up? Orlando's in here. Oscar the Grouch has something to do with trash cans. I like it. Yeah, by the way, not to harp on it, but there's a really good and by the way, if anybody has any cards they want to look up, I know we're just kind of staring at Warren Spahn here, but hey, this is a nice card to look at. There's a really good documentary that just was released like maybe last week about the Houston Astros, and it's called Astros. Oh shoot, I'm forgetting something. The Edge. The Astros Edge, and I'm not gonna play it because I don't want to get taken off of YouTube or whatever. But I'll show it to you guys real quick. It's called The Astros Edge: Triumph and Scandal in Major League Baseball. The good news is it's a Frontline PBS documentary, and it's on YouTube for free. So you can quickly look it up. Again, it's called The Astro's Edge. And I watched it, a few days ago. And, if you know everything that happened with the sign stealing scandal, uh, I think you'll still find stuff in this documentary that perhaps you didn't hear much about or didn't know about. I definitely know that even though I had thought I had read everything and knew about that whole story, there was a lot in this that I didn't know. But it also goes beyond just the scandal. It talks about the purchase of the team and the culture of the team and the approach that the owner had and how that affected how everybody did what they did, and that they sort of, like, the shortcut version is that they sort of took the Moneyball concept, and it was sort of Moneyball on steroids. And I don't know. I'll leave it at that. I thought it was really entertaining, interesting. I learned a lot. It it didn't endear the Astros to me anymore, and I realize, like, time passes and players leave and the culture changes, and the Astros of 2023 are not the same as, you know, the Astros during the cheating scandal, but it's really hard, I think, for us to not make that association. I'm trying to be uh I'm trying to be fair, but, like, yeah, definitely an eye-opening documentary that I recommend. Um yeah, Frontline's great. Frontline's been at it for decades at this point, and man, they always have good stuff. So I was excited when I saw that they did a baseball documentary. Um, is it time to look up Eddie Waitkus and Don Mossy cards? Sure, why not? Anybody have any Eddie Waitkus cards that they want to look at? The Astros are uncanny. It's almost like they know what's coming. Yeah, exactly. Kurt, what's up, Kurt? Cincinnati Reds. You know, uh, my buddy Jason Zombie Collector is a Cincinnati Reds fan. He doesn't necessarily show a lot of Reds cards on his channel. He's also a Japanese card collector. Um, and he's not uh, collecting baseball cards as much as he once did, but he's a Reds fan. And they're, you know, going back a few years, I remember there being Reds fans more prominently um, on YouTube, maybe not as much anymore. Another name that comes to mind is Michael Shane. And I'll post his channel name in the chat in case anybody wants to look him up. He's a longtime YouTuber. He's been on YouTube longer than most of us have. Really super nice guy. I met him at the National a few years back, and he's a Johnny Bench collector. He's a Johnny Bench super collector. So, not necessarily the Cincinnati Reds, but when you think the Reds, you think Bench. So I'll put his channel name in the chat if anybody's not familiar with Michael. Yeah, there you go. So as Mike O says here, and of course Nina is a Reds fan. Although I got to be honest, Nina, when I think of you, I think of Cleveland. But yeah, definitely. Mike O, another guy, Chris, who's been around a number of years. Forget the channel name. Too many channels. Definitely. There you go. So Chris from Missouri and Big Scott are Johnny Bench fans. Cool. There's Chris. What's up, Chris? Chris confirms all the rumors. He's a Reds fan. Chris, have you ever done a video about your like your Reds fandom. I think that would be a cool video. Let's see. Orlando is a Marlins and Yankees fan. That's pretty. I'd say that's pretty balanced. Orlando, because you got one team that you can have hope for and is gonna probably let you down more often than not, and then another team that's probably not gonna let you down. Although right now the Yankees are in rough shape. That's right. Back to the cardboard. Boy, I miss Shannon. Shannon was a fantastic YouTuber. In addition to being a Reds fan, he was hilarious. He had really, really entertaining videos. Um, Don, I'm a usual fan, doesn't mean I'm a Cardinals fan, right? I never really thought about that. Um, yeah, I guess that happens, right? Like you can I'm trying to think like there are players that I respect and I'll collect their cards, but then there are like players that I really kind of consider heads and tails above the rest. But I feel like overall I'm also a fan of those teams. Like for me it's like Willie Mays, Jackie Robinson, um I mean those are two names that come to mind, but I'm also big fans of the New York Giants and the Brooklyn Dodgers, even though those teams don't I mean, I guess those teams still exist, but not quite the same way. Okay, you're a Phillies fan that PCs Hank Aaron and Warren Spahn. Make it make sense. Well, I'm a Phillies fan that's wearing a Brooklyn Dodgers hat, so there, I'm done. I think I've made my point. Um, Raised in South Florida, lived in Tampa, and went to spring training Yankees games. Cool. Yeah, I mean, gosh, you're lucky, Orlando, that you. I mean, I've always wanted to go to spring training games, but it's like something you got to plan, right? It's a trip, it's a vacation or a journey. But I'm guessing for you, it's not too difficult to get where you want to go if you want to see a spring training game. So that's pretty awesome. Right. I mean, that was just my attempt to make as thin a connection to the Reds as I could. It's hard. There aren't many uh, Reds fans on YouTube, but we've got Chris from Missouri. We've got Nina. Right, not a Yankees fan. I would say Chris from Missouri. You're not alone. I think most of us are probably not Yankees fans, but all of us have their cards. Um, Showing me Don, big Eddie Collins fan, but there's no chance I'd root for the Athletics or the White Sox. Right. I think it's different the further back you go. Right. Like, um, I'm not going to speak for Michael Shane, but like Michael Shane watched Johnny Bench play and must have admired him, you know, as he watched him play during his time. Whereas, like, I've never seen, nor could I possibly have seen Jackie Robinson or Willie Mays play or anybody else that I collect since I collect vintage cards, right? But I don't have that strong association with them, like being on a rival team or something, because it's so far in the past that I don't really think of it that way. Babe Ruth has 94 career wins, 2.2 career ERA. Nobody, and I mean nobody talks about this. Okay, let's talk about it. Um, we all know that he was a great pitcher, but it's true that like I know that I don't really look at the stats that often. Um, Carlisle, I've discovered that team set collecting is a great way to set collect on a budget. Is that because I mean there's obvious things where your focus is much more restricted or specified, right? But also because the number of big cards that you have to go after also shrinks a bit. And perhaps the cards that you have to go after are not as big as somebody else. Because if I've got a set collect the Yankees, that might still be painful. But if I'm set collecting the Phillies or the Reds or the Braves, it may not be as bad. Although, you're still going to have your Hank Aaron's and your Eddie Matthews. Rocket Rick. I have a split personality. I'm a Yankees and a Pirates fan. Wow. Yeah, you're on both ends. Surprising amount of Pittsburgh fans. Yeah, you know what? And there's always new ones. Like I've noticed over the years that there's always a handful of newer YouTubers that are also Pittsburgh Pirates fans. Honestly, in terms of YouTube, I consider Pittsburgh and Cleveland the center of the card collecting universe. Mike says Mays was still playing while I was a young Dodger fan. Still rooted for him, though, and booed the rest of the team. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that we all can think of teams where you may not like the team, but you respect or appreciate one of the players on that team. Even just thinking back to this Braves Phillies series, although I was very glad that the Phillies were able to hold the Braves back and beat them. I have a lot of respect for a lot of those players on the Braves team. So here's the laundry list of Pittsburgh fans. That's right, Theo as well. There's another couple of newer YouTubers. I don't know that they're still making videos. Maybe they're just taking a break, but there's a couple others, I think. Team sets are large enough to get a good representation of a set, but limited enough to be affordable, right? Plus, you might be surprised who was part of your team. Babe Ruth, Cy Young, Satchel Paige, and Bob Gibson all have Braves cards, for example. Ah, I see. What's up, Stuke? Just watching comments tonight, and my 3-year-old granddaughter tackle a dilly bar from DQ. Yeah, I think we should do a card room live from Dairy Queen too. New York National League fan, all eternally underdogs to you know who. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I never really acknowledged this torch that was passed from the Dodgers and the Giants to the Mets, but it's there. It's definitely there. So it's really kind of like it's like, here I am and I like the Brooklyn Dodgers and I like the New York Giants, but I can't stand the Mets. But I say that with so much love. Like if some of you guys know this, there's like Brian Roth, B Roth 6 is a big Mets fan, and he'll take any opportunity whenever the Phillies are brought up. He's gonna say his piece. And when the Phillies won recently, I don't remember exactly what he said, but it might have just been like a gif of somebody barfing or something. And I was like, Brian, I love you. Go Mets. And he responded in kind. It's all in good fun. It's fun. Baseball is more fun when you have a rival. If everybody just got along and it was peaceful, it wouldn't be as fun. White Sox fan collector. As a kid, I hated the Cubs, but I enjoyed Maddox, Sandberg, and Dawson. Yeah, I mean, I wanted the Phillies to beat the Cubs as a kid, but I definitely admired the guys that they had on their team. And another guy I think of is Mark Grace. I mean, he's not on Maddox's or Sandberg's level or Dawson, but still a good player. Boston Kid, before Whitey Ford came along, Ruth held the World Series record for consecutive scoreless innings pitched. That's pretty cool. Did not know that. Nina asks, are there people who are fans of the original cities of a team and only collect them in the original city? For example, the Brooklyn Dodgers, the Philadelphia A's, the Milwaukee Braves. Yeah, I would say so. I can say for myself, mostly because I collect vintage. And because I like the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Giants. Of course, I'm going to have those cards, but um, I don't think I'll ever have a San Francisco Giants Willie Mays card. Um, and that's not because he doesn't have great cards. And obviously he had a fantastic career in San Francisco, and that's probably where he was. That's really where he sort of fully became Willie Mays in terms of his Hall of Fame career. But for me, when I think of Willie Mays, I think of the New York Giants, and so I pretty much stick to that time period. I'm sure there are people that are really interested in the Philadelphia Athletics, and they don't really focus much on the Kansas City Athletics or the Oakland Athletics or even wherever they're going to move next. There we go. Mookie understands. Right back at you, man. I can appreciate that you can't stand the Mets. I can't stand the Phillies. If you could stand the Phillies, we wouldn't be doing our job, right? And the same goes for you guys. If you guys could tolerate the Phillies, there'd be problems. There'd be problems in the world. We've got enough problems already. We don't need to get along. That's just going to make things worse. Boston kid, I love going to Fenway and thinking that it's well over 100 years old, and players like Babe Ruth played there, Todd Cobb and all the legends played there. Yeah, I mean, like places like Fenway Park, Wrigley Field, I've never been to either of those places. I'm ashamed to say, and I really want to get to those. I feel like the Nationals, my next best opportunity, next time it's in Chicago to go to Wrigley Field. It's always hard to kind of make that happen just because I feel like when I'm at the National, I want to take advantage of being there and seeing people and looking at cards. But maybe next time I'll try to fit in an extra day and try to go to Wrigley if they're in town. Because I really want to get to Wrigley. I want to go to Fenway. There's a lot of great stadiums I haven't been to, but those two come to mind because of this reason. Like those stadiums have seen so much. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys know, but Wrigley Field originally was a field for the Federal League, not even for the National or the American League. That was a Federal League field before that folded, and eventually it became, a National League team. I mean, there's so much history in those buildings. Rick, yeah. Well, I mean, but that makes sense to me because if you're like a Los Angeles fan and you appreciate the history, you're gonna go backwards. I mean, like Cheese Mikey, same thing. Pepino Man. I mean, like Brooklyn's a part of LA's history. Peter B, I collect Boston Braves. Stuke says a lot of Minnesota North Stars fans that despise Dallas. I remember there was a woman named Nina who made videos. I'm aware of her as well. I'm trying not to give her a hard time, but I would be pleasantly surprised and delighted to see a Nina S video one of these days. Yeah, I mean, there are certain players that I'm drawn to, like Koufax, for example, where I have one LA Dodger card at this point. So I guess it could happen, but Stuke says not many Twins fans collect the Senators. Yeah, and I think that's probably because there feels like even though the team has a connected history, that shift is such a big shift that it's hard to like. I don't know. You got a different name, right? It's like there's more of a schism there than there are for other teams. Um, let's see. I only like the Seattle Pilots. I won't collect the Brewers. Okay. It was fun with the Phillies beating Atlanta on TBS. Yeah, it was fun with a PH. I totally agree, Kurt. Although TBS is not the same as it was when we were all growing up. I mean, like TBS was synonymous with the Braves, and I don't remember. Those of you that are Braves fans, I'm sure you know, but like the Braves announcers on TBS, like that was a very strong thing that that was a part of growing up with baseball. Was like TBS meant the Braves, and it meant those announcers, and um, I mean they were also a good team. So it was like everything lined up. The Chicago Whales. Go to a game with fellow YouTubers. Yeah, I don't think I've done that yet, which is kind of crazy. Um, Wrigley Field still has tours when the team is out of town, so you could probably still see the ballpark. That's a great idea. I appreciate it. I mean, I would still want to be at a game, but even if they're not playing, it would be worth going. Um, it's easier as an Atlantan to collect Boston and Milwaukee Braves because they're currently in Atlanta, but I get why Boston and Milwaukee fans would have no interest in Atlanta. Yeah. Yeah, when you get left behind, it's sort of like I mean, I hear that all the time when I'm going and looking at, like, Brooklyn Dodger stuff. I'll come across a story of an old timer who's like, "That team died for me when they left. Like, as far as I'm concerned, there is no Dodger team anymore. Like, yes, I understand you're telling me that they're in Los Angeles, but as far as I'm concerned, that team is gone. They don't exist." Um, right. St. Louis still celebrates the Browns, but I'm not sure if they are talked about as much in Baltimore. Right. Oh, cool, Don. I didn't realize that. That's awesome. I'd love to pick your brain about it. And again, this is kind of thinking way too far ahead, but you know, the next national that's in the Chicago, maybe we can all either go to a game or if they're not there, we can do the tour. I would definitely love to do that. I saw this great, speaking of Wrigley, I saw this great documentary that actually was on again on YouTube, and it was made by the Cubs, so it's on the Cubs YouTube page about all of the renovations to Wrigley and the expansion of the clubhouse and um, the bullpens and everything else. It was really, really, really interesting to see that whole process. So that's another doc that I recommend checking out. You can find it on the Cubs YouTube channel. Oh wow, got to go on the field and sit in the dugout. Awesome. Oh, thank you. Yes, Ernie Johnson, Pete Van Wieren, and Skip Correa. Yes, um, absolutely. Yeah, those. I mean, that even though I didn't like the Braves, that was kind of synonymous with my childhood, right? We were told we would get shot if we touched the ivy. Hey, let's test that out next time. Let's see what happens, Don. Do I have something against seeing a White Sox game? Yeah, I do. The fact that it's not in Comiskey Park, that'd be number one, man. Um, it's great that there are lots of seats, but I'm just kidding. I would definitely check out a White Sox game too, just to do it. But doesn't have the same draw, I have to say. At Wrigley, you can see Lake Michigan from the top few rows along the third base side. Um, I just realized I haven't posted the channel link in here. I'm going to put it in here. I can only stay for another 10 or 15 minutes anyway. But if anybody wants to pop in real quick and say something or share some cards or ask something or chat it up, you can jump in. Um, but this has been fun. You guys have really kept the comments coming, and it's been fun to catch up with everybody. Um, my collecting has slowed down considerably. It always does this time of year. One, I'm really focused on the Phillies, and I'm excited that I get to be focused on the Phillies. I've been looking at a lot of autographed baseballs again. I haven't gotten any autographed baseballs in some time, but when this kind of stuff happens, it really like ignites that part of me that enjoys collecting autographed baseballs. I'm realizing that there's some Phillies that I don't have. I want to get a Zach Wheeler autograph. I want to get a JT Realmuto. The big one I want to get is Bryce Harper. I need to get a Bryce Harper autograph. So it just got me thinking about those players and those autographs. That's a side of my collecting that I don't talk a lot about, but I do love collecting autographed baseballs. But my card collecting in general, my collecting has slowed down because it's that time of year, like I've got to start thinking about Christmas and family and travel and presents and stuff. It's that time where you get to remember that there's more important things than, baseball cards and hobby stuff. So it's all good. But, at some point I'll have to start taking a look at what I've collected this year and do an end of the year video. I mean, it's still early days. It's mid-October, but um, it is kind of winding down. Mike, way behind on getting the newer Hall of Famers on baseballs. Yeah. I could come into the stream and you could watch my face as I draw and not say anything. Actually, we could arrange for that, Scott. Like we could do one card room live where without any announcement, it just begins and ends with you drawing and not saying one word for an hour. That would probably be the most popular session ever. We can figure that out. Stuke says Twin Cities Sports Collectors Club members get free tours of Target Field before games by request. One of our club members is the Twins curator. Cool. Jesse says I'm with you. I've slowed down too, but I've been getting more memorabilia. Yeah, it's funny because I haven't gotten. I mean, the last autographed baseball I got was Branca and Thompson, but before that, I hadn't gotten one in like well over a year. And I kind of wondered, like, have I stopped? Like, am I not interested in autographed baseballs anymore? And what I've discovered is there's a really strong connection for me between my fandom and wanting to feel that connection, and like wanting to. There's something about having that autograph of that player on a baseball and adding it to the other ones that I have that is like really strong for me, and I'm feeling that right now. Like I'm realizing, hey, this is a time. Like even if the Phillies don't win a World Series, this is still a time where I'm really enjoying this fandom, and these certain players are a part of it, and I want to like add that to my collection of memories because that's really what they are. Those baseballs for me are like a collection of memories. Putting aside the older ones because I've got a Joe DiMaggio, I've got a Mantle, I've got a Musial. Who else do I have? I've got a Ted Williams. Like those to me are separate and really special. But like my Phillies autographed baseballs, that to me is like really tied to my fandom, and I feel that just right now with what's going on in the postseason. Um, I would be excited if I saw Von Purple Haze in a reindeer post. Don would be good with Scott not talking. Do I have a Larry Doby? No, I don't. I don't have that many like vintage autographs. I have, like a handful of big ones, and who else? Because so I've got like big name players from the past, like 4 or 5. I've got a lot of pitcher autographs. So my autographed baseball PC is pitchers and Phillies. So I have Early Win, and I've got Bob Feller, but I don't have Larry Doby. I wouldn't be upset to have a Larry Doby. It's just he's not been on my radar for baseballs because it's mostly pitchers and Phillies. I'm working on it. So I've decided, yeah, I'm gonna do a video probably in the next couple weeks, showcasing a lot of my cards and collection of that are surrounding the shot heard around the world. I've got some Bobby Thompson, I've got some Branca, I've got some other cards that are not those two guys but are related to it. So yeah, I'll do a cup of coffee to show off those cards. Some of those cards I haven't shown. I got off I got out of the habit of making mail day videos for every card that I got. I just decided I wanted to try to take a different approach to how I made videos. So I don't do mail day videos as often as I perhaps used to. Um, so instead, I'm going to do this Bobby Thompson, Ralph Branca video at some point, uh, probably in the next couple weeks. So we'll see when I can get that done. Um, but I think that's it for tonight, guys. Thanks so much for joining in, everybody. Appreciated all the comments. If you like this live stream about nothing, you should give it a thumbs up so that we can make sure your voice is heard. Right, really important. Give a thumbs up. And again, if you want to get in touch or have ideas for future sessions, because Lord knows I need some new ideas, you can email me at bowman53channel@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Bowman53_Alex, 1953 Bowman Color on Twitter. And of course, that information is all in the description below. So seriously, if you do have any ideas or you want to plan to hop on someday, and if you have a topic in mind, whether it's baseball related, card related, YouTube related, happy to do it. So just reach out to me and we can get a conversation started. Anyway, guys, there's plenty of other good stuff coming up tonight on YouTube. So go seek out some great YouTube content coming up, including our friend Wesker Griff, who's going to talk about these guys. So have a great night, everybody. Go Phillies. Take care. See you next weekend. Maybe. There we go.